Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Vijayendra Singh Tawar, Associate Professor in English, and presently I have been posted at Government College, Gudha, in the Jajano district. In the series of video lecture, which is being prepared by me, today's lecture is meant for the students of class BA part 2nd, subject English Literature, paper 1st, and the topic which we are going to discuss in this video is the explanation of A.K. Ramanujan's famous poem A River. A.K. Ramanujan is a well-known name in India, particularly in Indo-Anglian literature. Let me explain again that Indo-Anglian literature means literature which is written in English by Indians. And literature has many branches, poems, prose. Here, A.K. Ramanujan is particularly at this juncture of time, we can say, was a great poet, and he is regarded as one of the member of the trinity of Indo-Anglian poets. Trinity means three top poets who were Indians and who used to write in English medium. A.K. Ramanujan's full name was Attipat Krishna Swami Ramanujan. He was born in 1929 and died in 1993. He is one of the leading person or literary figure in Indo-Anglian literature. He was settled in USA, but he was such a great talented person that he knew 5 languages. These 5 languages were Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Sanskrit and English. And he used to write both in Kannada and English. Ramanujan wore many hats as an Indian poet, scholar, author, philologist, folklorist, translator, and playwright. Means you can say in a word, he was a versatile genius, all-rounder. He published works on both classical and modern variants of these literatures and also argued strongly for giving local, non-standard dialects their due. Means the dialect which was so far neglected was given due respect by A.K. Ramanujan. He has been praised highly by critics after critics. His art is almost perfect. The only fault that can be found with him is that his poetic output is too thin. He has, to his credit, only 2 slender volumes of poetry. He is certainly one of the greatest masters of the English language. That though he was a great personality, he was an all-rounder, versatile genius, but his output was low. He published only 2 anthologies of poems only. But the quality of his poem is enough to prove that he was a great scholar and poet. Apart from his themes and motifs in his poetry, he ranks very high among the Indo-Anglian poets for the use of English language to express himself. He was a master, he was a professor of the language. So he is regarded as one of the best masters of, or a best person who had command over language and how to use it to suit his purpose. He knew it very well. He has shown a rare originality in the use of words, and he has shown an extraordinary talent of phrase making. His poems abound in, means filled with felicities of word and phrase. Means his style of expression was very pleasing. Now let us come to the introduction of the poem so that we can understand the explanation. A River is one of the most well-known poems of A.K. Ramanujan. It was published in the Striders in 1966. The river which has been mentioned here or celebrated in this poem is Vaikai. Vaikai is a famous river in Tamil Nadu. It flows through Madurai. Madurai is a famous city and it has for 200 years been the seat of Tamil culture. It was the just as in South North India, Kasi, Banarsi is regarded as the cultural city of India. In the same way, in South India, Madurai was regarded as the cultural city of India. What Ramanujan here really wants to tell us is that although the annual flood in the river inspires poetry, that it motivates the poets to compose poems on the subject, it does not evoke any sympathy from the authorities or even from writers of the poems themselves. Means they also not show any real sympathy for the victims due to the flood. Nothing is done to protect human beings, animals and houses against the damage which is done by the flood waters. Now let us come to the poem. Poem is very easy and it is written in a very simple and ordinary language. I suggest that the students should read the meanings. For example, trickle, small amount of liquid flowing slowly. In summer, river almost dried up, so there remains very small water. In that sense, our trickle. Bearing the sand ribs, means revealing the sand collected up on both sides of the stream, river, whatever it will. Clogging, blocked with an accumulation, means gathering of thick, wet water. Thick means say the material wave contains hair of women, some straw, etc. The rusty bars, a bank of sands in the bad condition. Patches, irregular spots, glistening, shining, lounging in an idle manner. I have given you the meaning before I will go to the text so that you can understand. And you will notice that only in this stanza there are difficult words, otherwise the whole poem is quite easy. It is a short poem also. The poet says, in Madurai, Madurai, a famous city in Tamil Nadu or in South India, you can say. City of temples and poets. Madurai is famous for temples. The Meenakshi temple is there in Madurai. And there are many poets who are associated with Madurai. These poets who sing the cities and temples, they compose poems about cities and temples. What they write? They write, every summer a river dries to a trickle. In summer season, every year, what happens? Due to the heat and lack of water, the river gets almost dried up. It becomes a trickle, means a small amount of liquid it has or water it has. Bearing the sand reefs, even the sides of the river which were drowned in water in floody season or in other season, in summer we can see the sand is visible. Bearing the sand ribs, straw and women's hair clogging the water gates at the rusty bars under the bridge with patches. Now see, there are certain, you can say, things such as straw, women's hair and other things which flow with the water when water is not in the sufficient amount. They gathered at one place, particularly at near the bars, and stopped the flow of the water near the bridge. Bridge is almost in a ruined state. It has many irregular patches, signs of irregular repairing. Bridge patches of repair all over them. The wet stones and the wet stones in the water, they shine like sleepy crocodiles, as if there is or the shining of the whetstones is like that of the sleeping crocodiles. And the dry ones, that is dry stones, seven water buffaloes lounging in the sun. They resemble the same kind of impression they gave as if the buffaloes, which are seven, and they are lying in an idle manner in the sunlight, and they are shining. Same is the case with the dry stones. The poets only sang of the floods, but the poets do not get interested in these things. They are interested only in the floods. He now tells us about the role of the poets in the past, role of the poets in the present. That is present poet and past poets. He was there for a day. The poet is describing the attitude of the poets of the past. That the poet was there only for a day when they had the flood. He saw that the flood had arrived, or there is a flood in the city. People everywhere talked of the inches rising, and then it will become the talk of the town, that the people start talking that water level is rising inches by inches. Of the precise number of cobbled steps, cobbled small round stone. They also talk that three stairs or four stairs have been drowned by the water, like that. Cobbled steps run by over by the water, been drowned by water. Rising on the bathing places, and water level is also rising where the people used to take bath, and the way it carried off three village houses. Then it is also described that the water flood caused certain damages. It caused damage to the village houses. One pregnant woman was drowned, and a couple of cows named Gopi and Vrindav, as usual, they also drowned or lost their life in the flood. The idea is, then they mention that certain loss has happened due to the flood, such as some property have been damaged, some persons have been drowned, and some animals have been drowned. This is mentioned once again. This was the attitude of the past poet. Now the new poets, that's the present poet, the new poets still quoted, as I told you, you should know the meaning. Quoted means repeat or copy out words from a text or speech written or spoken by another person. Means repeat. They also repeat the old poets. That is, they also adopt the same kind of attitude which was adopted by the old poets. But no one spoke in verse of the pregnant woman. But nobody changed his or her attitude regarding the women with pregnant women who drowned in the flood. With perhaps twins in her, the poet says it is quite possible that in her womb there might be living a twin kicking at the blank wall, where they might be kicking the walls to come out when the woman was drowning, even before birth. Even though they were not able to come out into the you can say world, but they might have tried their best to come out by hitting the walls of the womb. But nobody or no poet described this kind of sorrow or grief of the twins. They are interested only in the flood. He said the river has water enough to be poetic. The poet says it appears that as if river has water only at the time of flood, and then only it inspires the poetic talents to compose poems. And about only once a year, and this happens only once in a year when there is a flood in the river. And then it carries away in the first half an hour three village houses, and then it drowned or caused damage to three houses, a couple of cows named Gopi and Brinda, and a cows which were named Gopi and Brinda, and pregnant woman expecting identical twins who was hoping that she will give birth to a identical twins with no moles on their bodies. There will be not a single mole to differentiate both the twins. With different color diapers to tell them apart. She would have or might have to use different color of diapers to tell that this is X and this is Y, or to differentiate between the twins. The idea is whether the old poets or the poets, they describe certain things. They say that the flood came, it caused certain damage to property such as houses, etc. in the village. Then some human beings were drowned. One pregnant was symbol of human beings, and Gopi and Brinda, the cows, there stand for the damage done to animals. The idea is there is no change in the attitude of the old poets as well as new poets. Thank you very